Hi Varun,
Hi, hello.
welcome to Sudeep Audio's channel.
Pleasure.
Uh, you were one of the top names that came up when we asked our viewers who do you want to see on the channel, and here you are. Thank you for giving us your time. So, as the usual format is, let's run through your musical journey.
Sure.
Tell us a little about yourself, your musical influences,
Right.
turning points in life, and
Okay.
then we move on.
Sure. I grew up in Davao, and I grew up in a musical family. And my dad played bass.
What's his
and
name?
His name is Mendonsa, and his younger brother is Lloyd. And so I mean, I always had music in the house, and there were always guitars and that sort of thing. And there were always my dad's friends who would come over, and every time they had a party, it'll always break out into some kind of a jam, which was awesome because I got to be exposed to music before my time as well, from 1930s and 1940s, or my granddad's music as well. So it's kind of cool because it comes in useful now as a profession. So anyway, so by the time I was 5, I think we noticed, I showed some sign of, musical talent or whatever. So they bought me a little guitar, and I learned a few chords and stuff like that. And I never really took it seriously till I think I was around 13 or 14, and puberty starts hitting. And suddenly it was oh cool, and it wasn't like some people use the guitar as a social crutch, just to meet other people and stuff. For me, it was I withdrew from society just to, sit down and play by myself. And then
It was not to impress girls.
no, I don't know. At least I never had any luck with the guitar, in that sense. But I remember my uncle had all the Beatles albums, and he had it on vinyl, so I got them transferred to cassette, so I could sit on my Walkman. And that was my education pretty much, just learning. Rewind, and there was no MP3, so you can just instant access. It was rewind, and sometimes you had to slow down the tape to, figure that kind of, just play it back a few times. And the good thing is that it developed my ear. Rather than, I still can't read music, which, I wouldn't actually recommend it, saying that it's a cool thing not to be able to read, but yeah, well, you can get by without it, at least these days. Read a chord chart. I think that's more important than actual notation.
This is only for guitarists, or any musician should be able to?
Well, I think if you are playing some kind of an orchestral instrument, then yeah, you better know how to read others. But by and large, I think guitar players are kind of relied on for improvising, at least what I've been experiencing. So the good thing is my dad kind of taught me how chords are constructed, the basic, theory, saying this is how you get a major chord, this is how you get a minor chord. And I started noticing really early on that different chords would, kind of affect how I felt, so that in that sense it was, like a minor chord. And then you add that note, and why does it make you feel that way? So I was kind of intrigued by that. So, it's not exactly like a science or something like that. I was just very curious. So, picked up the guitar and started playing a few solos. And then, when my parents had those parties, they would ask me to sit in, on guitar. And I was the guy who would play the solo. So time came for the solo, yeah, you play it.
Any songs? Or?
Well, everything from Crosby, Stills and Nash, Beatles, a lot of 60s and 70s British and American music.
Did you sing also with that?
No, I still don't sing, that's the thing, because I used to sing when I was a kid, and then once my voice cracked, I just lost interest in it. So I kind of, sometimes you still wish that you could sing and play guitar, because, I think it gets you a lot further if you can sing. I can sing enough to hum a melody to somebody, but the moment I get on stage and mic's in front of me, I freeze. So I only use the mic to announce, okay, this song is called, that sort of thing. And the thing about the guitar also, which intrigued me, was different sounds. Why do different players have different sounds? And those two guys both use the same guitar, yet they sound different. So it was kind of you start hearing people's personality in their playing, and and you start noticing the imperfections also as much part of their style as their command of the instrument. So it's very shall I say unconventional in the way I started looking at it.
So no formal training and...
Well, I did piano lessons for 2 weeks, and then I yeah, what happened is like I used to pretend to read. The teacher would insist that I would read, and then one day she saw the page had flipped over and I didn't notice. I just went on playing, so she gave me a shelling, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. You know, it seems like school, and the moment like music became like school, I was like, no, it's not right. So that was that, and I think by the time I was 16 or 17, I started, you know, like my other friends as well, started getting into like playing bass and whatever. And the funny thing is, I actually started off playing bass because my dad was a bass player. And he told me very early on, he's like, man, you should just stick to playing guitar. I said, why? He said, you'll make more money as a guitar player than a bass player. Which, anyway, thanks, Dad. The good thing, I mean, he had a really nice 70s Fender jazz bass. And then the choice was like, either you play an acoustic guitar, you play an electric bass. And, you know, you always, as a kid, pick the electric instrument. And that was another thing as well, because I was interested in, I was like a science geek in school, like huge on maths, physics and chemistry at least. So, you know, when I discovered that you could combine the two, electronics and music, I was like, oh, this is like two things that I really like, you can, you know, put them together. And so I think at that time as well, things were still iffy if you wanted to, you know, take on music as a professional career. Like my uncle did it at that time, which the rest of my family kind of saw it as a bit risky, but you know, he's only proved them wrong. So they were like, okay, you can, you know, you're good at science, check out engineering college and stuff like that. You know, typical Indian parents. So I was like, okay, off to engineering college I go. Then I went there, and it was really boring, I have to say. In fact, in like the first year, we had to do a project for the electronics class. So I was like, cool, you know, and you have to build a very simple circuit using one transistor, whatever they gave. Awesome, I'm going to build a fuzz pedal. So I built a fuzz pedal and I took it to college. And brought this small battery powered amp, and he plugged into the oscilloscope and said, you know, so he asking me, what does this do? So I was like, it's a fuzz pedal. What is a fuzz pedal? Oh, it makes your guitar sound. So then he's like, you're looking at the scope, right? You've built a pedal to introduce distortion. We are trying to get rid of it. So yeah, that was one of those moments that I was like, okay. Right. So I did like 3 years, I think.
Oh, you didn't complete your...
Yeah, because in the last year, there was a job opening at my uncle's friends at Farhad Wadia studio in Breach Candy. The deal was, my parents said, okay, you got to balance both, you know.
College and work.
College and so I tried like 1 month, and then I told them like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm going to flunk in any case. So, you know, I might as well let you know this is what I want to do. So he was still a little bit apprehensive and all. Then I think what happened is I started like doing a few sessions on my own before like the main session of the day happened. So I started making a little bit of money, and also once they kind of figure like, okay, you know, it's cool, he'll manage.
Okay, just for the sake of some parents who are not very familiar with this industry.
Yeah.
Is this kind of money at that age?
Mm-hmm.
You must be 20 or something.
Yeah, it was like 3,000 or 4,000 rupees a month.
So,
You know,
I mean, at that point of time, this is many years ago.
Yeah.
So was that a decent amount for a...
Yeah, see, considering I was still living at home, I didn't have to pay rent.
Huh.
You know, so you're just looking at your travel, food, that kind of thing. Yeah, it was more than enough. You know, I didn't have a very extravagant lifestyle. I wasn't like...
Because that's the biggest worry parents have, you know, how much will my son earn?
Yeah.
Because they have no idea as to how much is the money paid in this.
Yeah, I think if you're not paying rent, you could possibly, you know, at least, it may take you like say 2 or 3 months, at least for the studio, whoever you're apprenticing knows that, A, that you're reliable, and you're not one of those people who just comes in for 3 weeks and then decides like, like or not. Or also that you're good at what you're doing.
Does that happen? I mean, are there people who just feel that they want to be an engineer or a musician?
Yeah, because even once I had been working at Farhad Studio, we got a couple of people who came in as assistants, and they just weren't suited like temperament wise. You know, I think as an engineer also you have to be pretty much like a fly on the wall and not get in the way of the process until your opinion is asked for. That's really important. I think if you're one of those very opinionated people who has this habit of, you know, throwing your weight in straight away, then maybe you should become a music director. Oh, you know, it's just that, like, at least while you're learning your craft, it's good to just shut up and get on with your job, you know. At least for me, and that suited me just fine because I'm like socially I'm not exactly like an extrovert or something. I just like to, you know, see how things are done. And if they ask me like what do you think about it, then I would, you know, this is what I think or whatever. I mean, the good thing for me is as well as like when music directors started noticing that I was a musician myself, then they could say, okay, cut it on the end of bar 3 or whatever, you know, like in musical terms, and I would know exactly. Otherwise, having to explain it to an engineer to count. If the guy's already a musician, then it's kind of,
it helps.
yeah. And I would tell them, okay, you know, when it goes to the G chord or whatever changes, then, you know, should I drop it in there? Then, you know, it becomes easy to communicate with people on that front. And
Great. Yeah. So how many years did you work with Farhad?
I think 5 or 6, if I'm counting correctly.
Primarily advertising or?
Primarily advertising, because it was pretty much like we'd start work at 11 in the morning, they'd bring the film in, load the film up, music director would, by the end of the day we had a mix. Sometimes we had 2 days and that was like a luxury. For 2 days, like wow, these guys have a big budget, you know.
We're not working all nights and stuff.
Yeah, that happened. Plenty of that happened because sometimes there would be delays which were beyond our control, and then your job is to just stay there till...
You can't say that I want to go home and I'm tired and, you know?
Well, I tried it a couple of times and got my ass kicked, so... So anyway, the understanding was that you would be there till, you know, the job was done. And then what happened is also, I think very soon after I joined, one of the other assistants who was like pretty much the main in-house guy, he quit. And I was given the manuals and says, well, next day you're on, you know. So I was like, man, this... And we had just gotten Pro Tools, you know, before I think we were working off those hard disk recorders, which were a little bit more, you know, it's not visual, at least with Pro Tools you've got all your waveforms and everything like that. So, you know, that was like a new world for me, you know, like just looking at, oh, these plugins and that plugins and this is what you can do. And like, you know, I think these days it may be, it's a tool at the end of the day. How you want to use it or abuse it is up to you, you know. So, I'll say it was awesome for me. It was just like creating bass lines. And the good thing is like while there was no work going on, I was free to, you know, experiment at my own time, just so I get to know the gear better, which is, I think, to the benefit of the studio as well. After around 5 or 6 years, my parents, who were already in New Zealand at the time, they said, why don't you come over and, you know, check it out and stuff like that. So it was like, yeah, what do I have to lose? And I was already playing in a band called Zero at the time. So the engineering thing and the rock band were kind of like parallel, you know, streams. And then the band started getting known as well, at least in the college circuit. So I think at that time also I kind of figured with the band, it's pretty much as we can push it right now, given the way things are. So I said, cool, I'll go for 6 months. So I went over there, and it was just like a totally different world, as you can imagine. You know? I mean, the air is cleaner, and there's no queues because there's not too many people and stuff. And so I came back, packed up my stuff, sold whatever little, you know, some gear I had. I just took my Marshall and my Strat, and off I went. And it took me a while there to, you know, find my feet. And also to meet other musicians, because I wasn't really...
Did you end up meeting Indian musicians or?
No, pretty much like the kind of music I was into at the time was just pretty much straight up rock and roll, you know, a bit of blues and stuff. So
did they accept you easily in terms of?
Yeah, that's the great thing about New Zealand. You know, I never really faced any kind of like discrimination because I was Indian or a couple of times people were just confused, like, how come you play like that when you're from India? So I said, well, there's all sorts of music, you know, it's not just...
and you were playing it right, so there was nothing for them to...
Yeah, I mean, you know, they noticed, okay, this guy's got like good ears and a good sound, I think that was... And, you know, the thing is also, like, while I was here, the whole focus was how good he was as a soloist, you know, oh wow, he's got so many chops and he can play so fast. And there was more like, are you a reliable guy? Do you show up on time? Are you in tune? Can you play good rhythm guitar? Do you have a good sense of groove? You know, all those sorts of things which aren't really the focus, at least for most kids growing up here.
Yeah.
At least, you know, that's what you would need to do to be a professional over there, because everyone's kind of playing at a fairly good level already. So what sets you apart from that is these other things as well. You know, it's mainly, I think it's your tone and your groove, and how good you are at picking up stuff, because it's not like we're going to spend, you know, one day rehearsing one song. It was like, these are the songs, you show up with your homework.
Oh, okay, that way. It's not that come to the session, then learn the song.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a session, yeah, but just at least with regards to live gigs, yeah. I mean, if you're doing like a covers gig or something, which, you know, pays your bills,
Right.
they'll send you a list of songs, you go on YouTube, whatever, figure out your parts, come and, you know, go
Okay.
for it. And they're kind of, you know, at least for me, they would kind of leave it to me to handle, you know, how
So
I
you did
wanted
not
to
take up
approach it.
engineering then? As in,
I did eventually, because there was a studio that opened up over there. So I did do like, I think, a couple of years as an engineer, and that was again doing the two side by side. I think if I had to stick to only one, it would, like, you know, it's that left brain, right brain kind of thing, your creativity as well as the technical aspect of it. Just keeping a balance, you know, between both of those. And I did work on a couple of really good albums over there. I think just watching musicians set up all at once and play, and just set up the mics, and because here the thing is like, first we'll do this, then we'll do that, all the arranger will come in with everything programmed and then only record the live parts. Everything from the ground up was, you know, organic, and everyone would play together, and if someone made a mistake, you just, you know, do it again.
the way it used to happen
Yeah.
in India earlier.
Yeah, and also I think the pace of recording was a lot more leisurely, just so you had time to, you know, get into the song. And I think they were quite amazed like how fast I could edit, because I'd been doing like language dubs and stuff, so like my editing jobs were like pretty fast, at least not as fast as some of the guys I've seen here, you know, but still by those standards they were fast. So they were like, wow, you can edit this chorus and that was like, yeah, I can do that. There was like, oh, we thought we'll just have to play it again.
Any experiences as an engineer there which you found was like, you know, pretty nice in terms of working compared to what you do?
Yeah, I mean, our working hours were a lot better. We came in at 11, I think by like 6 or 7,
Oh, okay.
let's go home. Yeah. I think I wasn't really doing hardcore commercial work there. It was more like, you know, people who wanted to make music for art's sake. And if we had to come back the next day, sure. And also I think there they take their work and their life, the rest of their life balance pretty seriously. You know, if you're stuck at one job, like slogging. I mean, there were times where I worked through the nights and stuff. Like when it comes down to mixing, yeah, you have a deadline, then you gotta meet that deadline. That's
But otherwise the work-life balance is...
Yeah, and people were really relaxed in the studio. I noticed it was just like not like a party, but everyone had a good vibe. There was not like, I'm going to come back to work. That wasn't there, you know. Like
Sometimes it happens here.
It happens
here it's pretty
pretty regularly. I think also because here we tend to push ourselves a lot more professionally, which, you know.
Try to maximize your...
Yeah, if the thing is also, it's like the way things are around you. If that's what's required from you, then yeah, you have to do it. You know, if you're one slacker in a sea of people who are pushing themselves hard, then you're going to be left behind. If you do have the option to take it easy and also get on with life, it's better for you in the long run, I think, with regards to your, you know, your health and especially your mental health, which people don't really see as a, you know, we'll just push ourselves till we, you know, drop dead one day.
What made you come back?
Work again. You know, I came back here and I just found like things that had definitely changed, at least for the 6 years I've been away. Just with regards to, I think, the indie music scene as well being viable on its own. And the thing is, I just need to balance the part of, you know, the work that you do to pay the bills and the work that you do for your own enjoyment. I found that that was possible now. And also like the people who I had been working with before I left also had gone like further down the line, and so I was still able to work with them on like, you know, bigger and better projects and stuff like that. So I always like working with people who I also can interact with, you know, personally as well. If you just don't get on, personally, it's hard to, you know, musically also to. Yeah, a lot of things have changed. And also, like with regards to being a musician, there were a lot more gigs to play. There were a lot more venues, and I think budgets also had improved. Like we'll pay you in sandwiches now. That wouldn't happen anymore.
So you decided to stick on here.
Yeah, and then I met my wife. We got married, and just moving on with your life kind of thing.
Correct.
So yeah, at least for the immediate future, I'm based here.
And you worked on some films also, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I do mixing as just not on a daily basis, but I've mixed like Kahani, Ravan, Student of the Year, a couple of films like that. I did a couple of songs for Papon as well, and then there's some TV work like the Guitarists and Sound Tripping. I did a couple of those episodes as well. So as long as I can keep busy and still develop as a musician, I think I'm pretty good here.
But guitar still remains your priority?
Yeah, it's actually my obsession. At least once I got into it seriously, there was no looking back. I still push myself, exposing yourself to as different music, not just only guitar players, just like be open to all kinds of music. You never know when it will help you in the long run.
Great. And what are your projects that you are working on?
And my main project is an instrumental project. It's called Blackstratblues. It's mainly guitar driven, but there's Devin Fonseca on keyboards, Adi Mystery on bass, Joy Rockavi on drums, and I think the third album should be out sometime soon. So that's primarily what I do, like for at least on the artistic side of it. And then a couple of years back I met Karsh Kale, so we got along really well. So I play in his band. He played on a few songs on my album as well. And so his album also hopefully should be out sometime soon. And I play with Nikhil D'Souza sometimes in his band. A couple of gigs with Amit Trivedi, Vishal Shekhar. It's pretty much like you see whatever works open.
Right.
If
so you
you're
do
free,
a lot of things.
Yeah, just try and keep yourself busy, whether it's producing, playing guitar, engineering, whatever.
Thank you for sharing your musical journey with us.
My pleasure.
And in the next part, we'll see you showing some tips and tricks with your
sure. Love to.
instrument.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Pleasure.
Thank you.